Betrayal is never an accident. It is a calculated evolutionary strategy designed to steal your resources and power while you are looking the other way. You will discover why the human brain is biologically wired to betray the very people it claims to love, and how your closest allies justify their silent cruelty. You will see the subtle, microscopic warning signs that your mind actively ignores, which leave you completely vulnerable to a devastating surprise attack. You will learn the exact psychological shield that makes you immune to betrayal and allows you to strip power from those who seek to exploit you. If you leave this video early, you will remain blind to the silent predators in your life. But staying until the end will give you the ultimate psychological weapon to make yourself completely untouchable. Why does betrayal always come from those closest to us? The human brain is a cognitive miser, constantly seeking to conserve metabolic energy by utilizing mental shortcuts. When dealing with familiar individuals, the brain relies on the familiarity heuristic, effectively shutting down the prefrontal cortex's threat detection and critical evaluation networks. This biological bypass is an evolutionary adaptation designed to facilitate group cohesion. But in the modern world, it creates a massive, predictable cognitive blind spot. Like when you hand over your house keys and banking passwords to a long-term romantic partner without a second thought, only to discover months later that they have been systematically draining your savings to fund a secret gambling addiction. Your brain did not fail to see the signs. It actively chose to ignore them because the familiarity heuristic made questioning them feel like an unnecessary expenditure of mental energy. By outsourcing your security to the illusion of intimacy, you hand them the exact scalpel they need to dissect your life. This neurological relaxation is the primary reason why we are blindsided by the people who share our beds, our tables, and our bloodlines. They do not need to sneak past your defenses because your brain has already unlocked the gates for them. But this biological blind spot is only the entry point. The real horror lies in how the betrayer's mind completely erases their own guilt before they even strike. How does someone who claims to care about you sleep at night after lying to your face? When a person decides to exploit you, their mind experiences intense discomfort known as cognitive dissonance, a psychological clash between their self-image as a good person and their predatory actions. To resolve this painful internal conflict, their brain undergoes a process of moral disengagement, using cognitive restructuring to rewrite the narrative, minimize their cruelty, and blame you for their choices. Like when a business partner secretly siphons funds from your shared account and tells themselves they deserve it because you took a 3-day weekend while they worked overtime, completely ignoring the years of extra capital you invested. They do not feel guilt or lose sleep. Instead, they feel a sense of righteous justice because their brain has successfully rationalized their theft as a fair correction of an imaginary imbalance. This cognitive distortion is a highly efficient self-defense mechanism that allows predators to act with absolute ruthlessness while maintaining a spotless conscience. They do not see themselves as the villain in your story, but as the hero who finally claimed what was rightfully theirs. Their mind does not see a betrayal. It sees a justified rebalancing of power, leaving you to suffer the consequences of their self-delusion. This moral rewriting is not a sudden event. It is preceded by subtle shifts in their behavior that your brain desperately tries to ignore. What is the very first warning sign that someone is preparing to betray you? Before a predator executes a major betrayal, they perform micro-boundary testing to see how much disrespect you will tolerate. This is a deliberate manipulation tactic rooted in evolutionary dominance hierarchies, where they slowly erode your self-worth to measure your compliance and map out your psychological defenses. Like when a coworker accidentally forgets to credit you for your work in a small team meeting, watching your face to see if you will stay silent or speak up. If you stay silent to avoid conflict, their brain registers your passivity as permission to take credit for your major projects in the future. They are not being careless. They are conducting a controlled laboratory experiment on your boundaries, and your silence is the green light they need to escalate their exploitation. This initial probe is designed to test your pain threshold and determine if you will police your own boundaries or allow them to be redrawn. If you fail this micro-test, you establish a precedent of submission that the predator will exploit with increasing intensity. Once they establish your compliance, they begin to manipulate your reality through a much more sinister psychological mechanism. How do they keep you from noticing their growing hostility? They utilize a biological manipulation technique known as intermittent reinforcement, mixing intense warmth and affection with sudden, unexplained coldness and distance. This unpredictable pattern triggers a volatile chemical cycle in your brain, releasing massive surges of dopamine during the unexpected warm phases, which effectively hooks your nervous system to their approval. Like when a romantic partner ignores your phone calls and texts for 3 days, leaving you in a state of panic, only to suddenly show up at your door with expensive gifts and declarations of absolute devotion. This chemical rollercoaster keeps your body in a state of chronic stress, flooding your system with cortisol and leaving you too physically and mentally exhausted to notice they are slowly transferring your joint assets into their private account. Your brain becomes so desperate for the next hit of dopamine that it ignores the massive red flags accumulating around you, reducing your critical faculties to a state of childlike dependency. This manufactured exhaustion is exactly what they want, as it prepares you to accept their version of reality without resistance. This exhaustion is exactly what they want, as it prepares you for the next stage of psychological erosion. Why do we defend the very people who are actively destroying us? When you invest substantial time, emotion, and resources into a relationship, your brain falls victim to a cognitive bias known as the sunk cost fallacy, making you refuse to walk away because of what you have already invested. Your mind is biologically averse to loss, and admitting that a close ally is a predator feels like a catastrophic waste of your life's energy. So your brain chooses to double down on your trust instead of facing the painful truth. Like when you keep lending thousands of dollars to a sibling who has never repaid a single cent, convincing yourself that this next loan will finally be the one that helps them turn their life around. Your brain would rather lose more resources than admit that your initial trust was a massive, embarrassing error in judgment, allowing the predator to exploit your fear of regret to drain you completely dry. This psychological trap locks you into a cycle of self-destruction where you actively protect the person who is bleeding you dry because the alternative is admitting your own vulnerability. The predator knows this, and they will gladly let you fund your own destruction while they plan their next move. This fear of embarrassment is a powerful tool, and betrayers use it to turn your own social circle against you before you can even speak. How do they ensure that no one believes you when you finally expose their lies? A highly skilled betrayer will execute a preemptive smear campaign, quietly poisoning the minds of your mutual friends, family, or colleagues before you even realize you are being targeted. This utilizes a cognitive phenomenon called the primacy effect, which dictates that the first piece of information a person hears about a situation becomes their permanent, anchoring reality, making subsequent facts incredibly difficult to accept. Like when a colleague casually mentions to your boss that you have been struggling with severe anxiety and memory issues at home, so that when you later report that colleague for stealing your high-value clients, your boss dismisses your detailed claims as a paranoid emotional breakdown. They have effectively disarmed you by setting the narrative before you even knew there was a war, turning your support system into their protective shield. This strategic narrative setting ensures that when the blow finally lands, any attempt you make to defend yourself will be viewed through the distorted lens they have already constructed. You are rendered completely voiceless within your own community, isolated and discredited by the very people you thought would protect you. But the smear campaign is only successful if they can keep you isolated from any objective reality. How do they cut off your support systems without you realizing it? They employ systematic isolation, slowly and methodically convincing you that your friends, family, and allies do not truly care about your well-being or success. This exploits a psychological mechanism known as the scarcity principle, where they restrict your access to outside perspectives, making their approval the single high-value currency left in your life. Like when a mentor tells you that your childhood friends are holding you back from achieving true wealth, urging you to cut ties with anyone who does not share your drive. Once you cut those ties, you are left completely dependent on that mentor for validation and guidance, allowing them to exploit your labor for zero compensation because you no longer have an external sounding board to tell you that you are being used. This systematic removal of your social safety net is designed to eliminate any dissenting voices that might wake you up to the exploitation. By becoming your sole source of information, validation, and support, they control your entire psychological landscape. Once isolation is complete, they will begin to use your own mind as a weapon against you. Why do you start to doubt your own senses when you confront them? They will use gaslighting to attack your cognitive confidence, flatly denying physical evidence and shared memories to make you question your own sanity. This psychological assault targets your biological need for cognitive consistency, forcing you to accept their fabricated version of reality to preserve your mental stability and avoid the terrifying realization that you are unsafe. Like when you show a friend a screenshot of a text message where they insulted you and they look you dead in the eye and tell you that you fabricated the image because you are insecure and desperate for drama. This extreme denial causes your nervous system to panic, making you apologize to them for being paranoid when they were the ones who attacked you, effectively handing them complete control over your mind. The systematic destruction of your cognitive confidence leaves you entirely dependent on their version of truth, rendering you unable to mount any form of defense. You become an active participant in your own psychological imprisonment, policing your own thoughts to match their lies. This complete surrender of your reality allows them to exploit you without any fear of resistance, but their ultimate goal is not control, it is disposal. What happens when they no longer need you? The moment your utility drops to zero, the betrayer will discard you with a shocking clinical coldness that leaves you reeling. This is driven by social exchange theory, which dictates that human relationships are merely subconscious cost-benefit analyses, and once your resources are depleted, you are no longer a profitable asset, but a liability to be cut. Like when a corporate manager who called you family for 5 years fires you over a cold, automated Zoom call without a second thought because the company needs to cut costs by 3% to please their shareholders. They do not care about your loyalty, your late nights, or your sacrifices. They care about their bottom line, and your emotional pain is simply an irrelevant side effect of their financial optimization. This sudden shift from warmth to absolute indifference is the ultimate proof that your relationship was never built on connection, but on consumption. You were not a partner, you were a resource, and once you were mined dry, you were cast aside like empty slag. The shock of this sudden discard can leave you paralyzed, but the real damage is happening deep inside your nervous system. Why does betrayal feel like physical pain? The human brain processes social rejection and betrayal through the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, which is the exact same neural pathway used to register physical injury. This means your body experiences a broken trust as a literal physical wound, causing your nervous system to enter a state of high-alert survival mode, flooding your body with stress hormones. Like when you discover a partner's infidelity and your chest suddenly tightens, your hands shake, and you feel physically sick to your stomach. Your body is not overreacting, it is responding to a massive survival threat, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline, because your primary source of safety has just become a predator. This prolonged hormonal flooding damages your cardiovascular system, disrupts your sleep, and weakens your immune system, turning psychological trauma into physical degeneration. The pain is a biological alarm system screaming that your environment has become hostile and that your survival is actively threatened. If you do not heal this wound correctly, you will remain trapped in a cycle of permanent vulnerability, constantly scanning the horizon for the next strike. How do you stop this biological panic and regain control of your mind? You must activate your prefrontal cortex to override the emotional panic of your amygdala through a process called cognitive reappraisal. This involves looking at the betrayal not as a personal failure or a reflection of your worth, but as objective clinical data about the other person's psychological pathology. Like when you stop asking, "What did I do wrong to deserve this?" and instead write down a cold, factual list of every lie they told you and every boundary they crossed. This shifts your brain from emotional pain to analytical processing, turning their manipulation into a clear case study of human pathology that no longer has power over your nervous system. By stripping the emotional weight from the event, you neutralize the chemical alarm system in your brain and regain your cognitive sovereignty. You cease to be a victim of their cruelty and instead become an objective observer of their dysfunction. Once your mind is clear, you can implement the ultimate shield to ensure this never happens again. How do you build an unbreakable wall that no predator can penetrate? You must practice strategic detachment, treating all human interactions as temporary alliances rather than permanent emotional contracts. This utilizes a psychological concept known as the principle of least interest, which states that the individual who cares the least about the continuation of a relationship holds all the power and leverage. Like when you enter a new business venture with a clear exit strategy, separate bank accounts, and ironclad legal contracts, never allowing your survival to depend on the other party's honesty. By keeping your emotional and financial assets completely independent, you remove their ability to threaten your stability, making you completely immune to their games. This is not paranoia. It is professional, high-level psychological hygiene that ensures your survival in a world of opportunists. You must accept that everyone is capable of betrayal under the right pressure, and design your life so that their potential departure has zero impact on your trajectory. But protecting yourself is only the first step. To truly dominate, you must understand the deeper pattern that governs all human betrayal. What if the ultimate betrayal is not what others do to you, but what you are actively doing to yourself? The most devastating form of betrayal is self-betrayal, driven by psychological reactants and our desperate evolutionary need for social approval. We betray ourselves every single time we silence our intuition, ignore obvious red flags, and tolerate disrespect just to keep the peace and avoid the discomfort of conflict. Like when you stay in a toxic, soul-crushing job or relationship for years, knowing it is destroying your mental health, because you are terrified of the temporary discomfort and uncertainty of walking away. Every time you accept a lie to avoid an argument or suppress your anger to remain likable, you are actively betraying your own nervous system. This internal compromise erodes your self-trust, leaving you completely dependent on the validation of the very people who are exploiting you. This self-betrayal is the root cause of your vulnerability. When you betray your own boundaries, you send a clear signal to every psychological predator that you are open for exploitation. They do not have to break down your walls because you have already dismantled them from the inside. The ultimate defense against betrayal is not hypervigilance toward others, but absolute merciless loyalty to yourself. So, how do you take this knowledge and become completely untouchable starting today? Stop looking for loyalty and start looking for alignment. People do not stay loyal because of love, morality, or history. They stay loyal because their current interests align with yours. The moment that alignment ends, the risk of betrayal skyrockets, regardless of what they promised you in the past. Accept this cold truth without anger, sadness, or resentment. Build your life so that no single person holds the key to your financial, emotional, or physical survival. Trust no one. Depend only on yourself. The door is closed.